Hello everyone, welcome to our channel. My name is Harish Kumar. Today's topic is Open Closed Principle in Solid Design Principles. The main idea of this principle is to avoid breaking changes when you add new features to the existing code. The definition of this principle is little confusing. It says that the software entity, you may think of it as a class or method, should be open for extension but closed for modification. Sound confusing, right? I was also very confused when I first heard this. Let me try to simplify this. The open for extension part means we should design our classes so that new functionalities can be added if needed, and the closed for modification part means that the class should be only modify in case of a bug fix, not for adding new functionality. The new functionality should fit in without modifying the original class. Now the question is, how do we do that? How you would change the behavior without modifying the original code? And that's where we come back to the term extension. Still confused? Don't worry. Let's look through some examples that will make the difference between them. The first example I am going to show you is the area calculator. That is the very common example for open closed principle. You can also see the same example in many article and blog posts. So after this, I will show you some more examples. So here the idea is you have some rectangles, let's say rectangle 1, rectangle 2, rectangle 3 and rectangle 4, and your job is to calculate the total area of these rectangles. So let's create this. So first let's create a new class. Let's say its name is rectangle.php. Namespace app solid and class is rectangle class, and this class has public property width and public $height, and here we have construct, and it is going to accept width and height. Next here I'll say $this width is equal to $width and $this height is equal to $height. Our next job is to calculate total area of given rectangles. Here I'll follow single responsibility principle. So I will create a separate class area calculator to calculate total area of all given rectangles. So let's create a area calculator class. Class area calculator. Next here I'll add method total area, and it is going to accept array of rectangles. Now to calculate the total area, here I'll say $area is equal to, initially it is 0, and here I'll add for each loop $rectangles as rectangle, and then here I'll say $area plus equal to $rectangle width multiply $rectangle height, and next return $area. Now our area calculator is ready. So let's test this. So in the web.php, let's remove all of this, and here I'll say return new area calculator and then total area, and in this method we are going to pass array of rectangles. So let's say new rectangle and this rectangle going to accept width and height. So let's say 10, 20. Now let's go to browser and see localhost 48,000. Great. Let's add another rectangle. Maybe let's say its width is 20 and height is also 20. So refresh. Great, it is working fine. Now let's say after some time we have also requirement to get the total area of circle as well. So no problem, let's implement this. Add a new class circle.php, and now let's copy all of this code from the rectangle class and paste this in the circle. Now here class name is circle, and here instead of height width we need radius, and the constructor going to accept radius, and here I'll say this radius is equal to $radius, and let's remove this. Now in the web.php, right here if I pass new circle and let's pass radius 10, now it is not going to work, because in the area calculator we need to modify this method, because right now it is calculating the total area of rectangle. Because here we need to modify the original code, so clearly it is violating open closed principle, because here we need modification to add new feature. For example, first thing, instead of rectangles we should call shapes, and here it is going to be shape. Next, this formula is for calculating area of rectangle, and formula for calculating circle area is different. So to fix this, here we can add if condition. If $shape is instance of rectangle, then use this formula. Else here I'll say area plus equal to $shape radius multiply shape radius and multiply pi. Now here it should work. Let's see, refresh, and here we go, it is working. Now what if you have also requirement to calculate total area of triangle? Now you may say that don't worry, add another if condition and check if the shape is triangle, similar like this. Now in these cases, do you really think we should do something like this again? Do we need to update the code every single time we make a change? This is sort of thing that increase the line of code in the method, and later it becomes very difficult to understand what this method is doing, or at least it is sort of thing that introduce breakage. The open close principle says that the class should be closed for modification, but you can see this is not closed, because every time we need a new shape, here we need a modification in this logic. So instead of adding area formula right here, we will create a area method in the shapes, and that will return its area. So let's go to rectangle, and here I'll create a method area, and it will return this formula, and here it will be $this. Next in the circle, here also we will add method area, and it should return this formula, and instead of shape it should be $this. Great. Now right here in the area calculator we can remove this, and here we can say $area plus equal to $shape area, this method. And now if we go to browser, it should give the same result, but it is not done yet. The open close principle suggests that we should separate the extensible behavior behind an interface. Now you may say that this code is working fine, why we need interface? Let me explain this. Now let's say after some time you have requirement to add area of triangle as well. So let's create this class triangle.php namespace app solid and class triangle, and this class has public triangle base and public triangle height. Now let's add construct, and it is going to accept base and height. And next $this base is equal to $base and $this height is equal to $height. Now if we see in the rectangle, to calculate area we have created a area method. Now let's suppose a new developer is creating this triangle shape and he do not know that the shape class should have area method. So let's say instead of this area method he created a new method. Let's say its name is getArea, and it is going to return $this base multiply $this height and divide this by 2. So now in the web.php, if I add new triangle and let's pass base is 20 and height is 30, and it should not work because in the area calculator here we have called method area, but this triangle shape does not have area method. Instead it has getArea, so it will throw an exception. Let's see, refresh, and here we get call to undefined method triangle area, and that kind of problem is solved by the interfaces. So let's create an interface. So here I'll create a new file. Let's say its name is shapeinterface.php. Namespace is app solid and interface shape interface, and it should have method public function area. Now here in the area calculator, here I'll say if $shape is instance of shape interface, then we should add the area, otherwise else it should throw new exception. Let's get the class name of the shape. So here say get class and pass $shape, and then say should implement app solid shape interface. So here what we did, if shape is instance of shape interface, then add the shape area, otherwise throw exception that the class should implement the shape interface. Now let's go to browser and refresh. Of course we will get error that rectangle should implement shape interface. So let's go to rectangle class, and here implements shape interface. This shape interface ensures that this class has area method that is defined right here in this interface. So if we go to browser and refresh again, the error will change. It will say the circle class should implement the shape interface, and let's go to circle class and implement shape interface, and let's go back to browser, refresh, and again we will see same error for triangle class as well. And in the triangle class implements shape interface, and my editor immediately giving me error that the triangle class should implement method area. So let's rename this method area, and let's go to browser, refresh, and it is working now. Now look at this area calculator class. We never going to need any modification right here. So this area calculator class is closed for modification and it is open for extension. In future, if we need to add any new shape, we will just create a new shape class and implement this shape interface, and this shape ensures that new shape has a area method that we have called right here. I almost forgot to talk about this condition. Here I checked if shape is instance of shape interface and then call this area method. So when you see in your code you are checking the type of object, it is a signal that you might be breaking open closed principle. I added this condition because I don't know how to type hint that these shapes contain an array of shape interface object. So if I don't add this condition, let's comment this. In that case, any class which does not implement shape interface is acceptable in this method. For example, let's say this triangle does not implement shape interface. In that case, it is acceptable. And if we go to browser, refresh, we did not see any error. So by adding this condition, I ensured that these shapes contain instance of shape interface. Because here I am checking the type of interface, so in my opinion that condition is okay. There is one way I can type hint that this shape is instance of shape interface. That we can do by using PHP spread operator. So here instead of array, here we can say shape interface and 3 dots shapes. Now let's dump these shapes to see if it is array of the shape interface. Now let's go to browser, refresh, and here we get error. The total area method must type of shape interface array given. Yes, of course, in the web.php right here, now it is not going to accept array. So instead what we can do, here we will say $shapes is equal to this array of shapes, and now we can pass these shapes right here using spread operator like this. Now it is valid. Now go to browser, refresh, and you can see it is an array of shapes. Instead of this, we can also pass these shapes without array like this, and now we can remove this shapes variable. Now go to browser, refresh, and we get exactly same. So now in the area calculator, let's remove this dump, and now we can remove this if condition, and it should work, and it's working. Now you can see this code looks more clean. Now let's say in the triangle class, if I remove this implement shape interface, and let's go browser, refresh, and here we can get error argument type must be shape interface and triangle given. So now let's undo this, refresh, and it works. I hope this was easy to understand. Now let's see one more example. Let's say we have a payment service class. So payment service.php namespace app solid class payment service, and this class has a method, let's say pay. Let's say it is going to pay the payment via PayPal. Now later your application may accept Stripe payment method as well. So here what you will do, this method going to accept payment method variable, and next here I will check if payment method is equal to Stripe, then call $this payment via Stripe, and then we will create this method. and if payment method is PayPal, then call method payment via PayPal, and again create method payment via PayPal. Now pause the video and think yourself, is this class is closed for modification? And the answer is no, because in future if you need to add one more payment method, then you're going to come back to this class and going to add another if condition and create a new method. So when you return these cases and modify them, you introduce the possibility of breakage or more bug. However, if we instead use interfaces to extend functionality when we need to, we never have to worry about any of this stuff. So here we should extend this functionality behind the payment method interface. So let's create this payment method interface.php, namespace app solid and interface payment method interface, and it should have public function, let's say make payment. Now we will create a dedicated Stripe payment method class and PayPal payment method class. So let's say new file Stripe payment method.php, namespace app solid and class Stripe payment method, and it should implement payment method interface. And this payment method interface ensures this class has make payment method, and let's say it returns Stripe payment. Next let's create a PayPal payment method, namespace app solid and class PayPal method, and it should implement payment method interface. So next let's create make payment, and it returns PayPal payment. And now in the payment service right here we can remove this, and here we will type hint, it is going to accept payment method interface $payment method, and this interface ensures the payment method has make payment. So here we can call return payment method make payment. So how we can use this? Let's go to web.php and let's comment this, and here we can say return new payment service, and we will call pay method, and it is going to accept new Stripe payment method. And let's go to browser, refresh, and here is the Stripe payment. If we need, we can pass PayPal payment method, refresh, and here we have PayPal payment. Now you can see this payment service is closed for modification. If we need to add another payment method, we can just create a new payment method class and extend payment method interface, and this ensures that that class has make payment method and we don't have to touch existing code. For example, let's add a new payment method cash on delivery. So here I'll add a new class, let's say its name is COD payment method.php, class COD payment method, and implement payment method interface. Next create method make payment, and it returns cash on delivery. Now if we need to switch payment method, right here we can say COD payment method like this, and it should work. And here we go, it's working. We have added a new payment method without touching existing code. Let's see one more example. So let's close this. In the previous lesson of single responsibility principle, we have seen an example of sale reports. So what here our job is, let's go to web.php, let's comment this here. So what here we want new sale reports, and here we want to fetch sale reports between start date, let's say 1st Jan 2022, and end date is 31st Jan 2022, and then export in, let's say, CSV format. Now here in this example you can see we are using method chain. After calling this between method, we called export method. But if we see sales report class, this between method returns a query. So if we go to browser and check this, we should get error right here. Let's see, refresh, and of course we will get error, method export does not exist, because in the current implementation we cannot chain export after between method. So to allow this chain in the sale reports class, here we should return $this instead of this query. So here what we will do, here I'll say public sales, and then right here we will say $this sales is equal to this query. Now here we return $this, so it should be valid now. Let's go to browser, refresh, and we get nothing because here we did not return anything, and this export method is doing nothing. Let's say this export method accept format, and let's return this format. Refresh, and here we get CSV. Now here this export can accept different formats. For example, let's say format is PDF, then it will return PDF format, and add another if condition. If format is CSV, then return CSV format, and later we need a new format, then we are going to add another if condition, and so on. And these kind of things introduce code breakage, and it is violating single responsibility principle as well as open closed principle, because this method should be responsible for only one single responsibility, and you can see it is also not closed. Whenever we need to add new format, we are coming back to this method and add a new if condition. So let's extend its behavior behind interface. So here I'll create a new interface, and let's say its name is sale report format interface.php. Interface sale report format interface, and it should have public function, let's say export, and it should accept sales data. So now let's create a PDF export format. So PDF export.php, class is PDF export, and it should implement sale report format interface, and it ensures that this class has export method. So method export, and it is going to accept sales data, and next return PDF export. And now in the sale reports class right here, we can remove this, and instead this export method going to accept sale report format interface, and let's say variable name is format, and now we can confidently return format export, and we can pass $this sales, this one. And now in the web.php right here we can pass the format which we want to export, that is new PDF export. Now let's go to browser, refresh, and here we get PDF export. Similarly, if we need to add a new format, we don't have to touch this original class. We will just add a new class, let's say CSV export, and copy all of these. Here we need to say class name is CSV export and return CSV export. That's all we need. And right here, when we are going to export, here we just need to pass CSV export class, and it is going to work. We have now touched the original class and added new functionality. The open-close principle strongly promotes the use of interfaces to enable you to adapt the functionality of your application without changing the existing code. This is what we refer to as polymorphism, the ability to have different behavior while sharing the common interface. Now in these examples, you may have also noticed that how these design principles sort of have each other's back. You will find lots of similarity between them. Now here you may see that I have created all these classes in one place in the solid directory. But you should organize these classes according to the feature. This is all in this video. Thanks for watching. If you like the video, hit the like button, share this video, and don't forget to subscribe us. See you in the next lesson.